and welcome to Hunter Fuel, a supernatural rewatch podcast for adults who enjoy their show with a chaser. I'm Liz.
And I'm Lynn.
Thank you for joining us for season 2, episode 2. Everybody loves a clown. We model responsible drunkenness here. All participants are way over 21. No one is pregnant. No one will be driving, handling weapons, operating heavy machinery, or inviting creepy ass clowns into our homes. If you're playing along with us, those are the rules. If you decide not to follow them and you do something stupid, don't blame us. Lynn, what are you drinking this evening?
I went for one of those vodka cocktail thingies that we get at the not
The,
brewery, but
the
the
distillery
thingy
near
near.
us? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, those are mighty tasty. That is a good choice. The featured cocktail for this episode is called Tears of a Clown. It is 2 ounces of London dry gin, 1 ounce of lime juice, 3/4 of an ounce of strawberry liqueur, 1/4 ounce of strawberry syrup, an egg white or a vegan foamer, which is what I do because I cannot do an egg white in my cocktail. Give it a dry shake, which just means shake it once with no ice, add ice to it, shake it again, strain, and serve. Wizard Dave, can you bring up our Supernatural game cards for us, please? I I don't know. I'm not thrilled about mine. I'm not gonna lie.
I haven't been crazy about mine the last couple episodes, like the last couple episodes we've
You
done.
you mean the last couple that you've won?
Well, like last week, I think I had a whopping four total, and it was like two in a row. Yeah, I had a
Yeah, it was
couple
a little
go
stingy.
before then, but then like yeah, well, you see, I don't count the recap. I don't count the recap.
No, no. No, if
I mean,
it's
I know
if
the
it's
one
not in
right before.
the if it's not in the real episode, it doesn't count. I agree.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know the one right before that. I had a really good one, but that seemed like a couple before then weren't the greatest either. My memory could be a bit hazy, and I haven't started drinking yet.
Well, well, let's see how it happens. So, as always, the first one is on the house. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about this one.
You
Let's
say
see.
that every week.
I do, and some of them I'm right. I don't know.
Mm.
Okay,
That face says it all.
it's still not as bad as the asylum, but that bar is super low.
I say
Okay, well,
that was not a happy face,
this is not a happy face, no.
which means your card is gonna rock. You are aware of
Um,
that.
I hope you're wrong, but that does seem to be the way that it's been going. So, with that, if you're going to play along with us, there is a link to generate a card of your very own in the link tree. So let's get this show on the road. We're starting with again, we have our then. We've got a nice recap of season 1, some of the fun monsters that we had, ending with the car crash from the end of the first season. Moving into the episode prior to this one, so we have, Dean as a disembodied spirit walking around in the hospital. The fight that John and Sam have pretty much the entire episode, ending up with John making the deal to trade himself for Dean. So Dean lives, John doesn't. And the whole thing is to the song Time Has Come Today by the Chambers Brothers. And we've got this really kind of great um, it's almost like a strobe effect edit here with in time with the music. I think they do a good job with this one. And of course, we've got whatever it is that John whispered to Dean at the end. So,
Of course, now after
it
you said that, I can't look at that scene the same way.
oh, with the coffee cup drop.
No, when you said that he was actually whispering like
Oh, filthy
sexy
things.
things to try and get him to laugh. Now every time I see that scene, I'm like, oh Lord.
Not mind Jeffrey Dean Morgan whispering naughty things in my ear. I'm not gonna lie. Keep saying I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be one of those episodes. So we're starting out. We've talked past it a little bit, but we go to the fair and it starts with this really great shot, I think, of um like through a balloon and then the balloon pops and we can see the crowd. I think that's a really clever shot. This young lady here, her name is Nicole Munoz, and she would go on to appear in a sci-fi series called Defiance alongside Julie Benz. Who, if you watched our season one wrap up video, you know she was my favorite guest star of season one, who was she was in Faith. So the little girl has
I love the dad in this scene because you could tell dad just loves clowns. Like he's looking
oh
at his
well
watch every like 2 seconds, like how much longer, how much longer, how much longer. God, I hate this. How much longer?
yeah, and the little girl keeps saying she can see a clown nobody else can see.
And
And the
no one.
wife is like, "You're scaring your dad. Stop it." I'm like, Dad should be scared. That is a freaky looking clown." Like I say these like the kids in this episode just have like no sense of self-preservation. It's just freaky
You know
ass.
that clown doesn't bother me.
Really, it's all like mangy. I don't know. I don't
It,
like it.
it's a
I mean, it's
sad looking clown. It's
yeah, don't like it.
supposed.
Are you
Well, we're
telling
not
me you would
supposed to
invite
like
that
it.
into your house?
Well, the fact that kids let this thing into their house anyway shows that these parents did a horrible job at stranger danger.
Yeah, like definitely, definitely teach your kids not to unlock the door in the middle of the night for freaky strangers, even if they are dressed like clowns.
Especially when
So
they're
sure
dressed
enough,
like
this kid,
clowns.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said, especially when they're dressed like clowns.
Yeah, definitely not. So, girl, let's creepy ass clown into the house. So interestingly enough, that was a genuine working fair that they all went to. Key makeup artist Shannon Coppin said the whole crew went to the fair to ride the rides. Sound mixer Donald Pinchot said that he sat for 4 days listening to the performers' stories about being on the road. So it was a genuine working fair.
Oh,
We've got the boys.
we have one of the boys cries.
Well, we're getting there. I want to talk about that. But yes, we're going to check our cards in a second. So we have burning a body. The
Yeah.
the boys are burning a body. And I want you to notice, yes, Dean cries, but notice when he cries
Okay,
because
I
he
was
doesn't.
actually noticing that Sam let out a tear.
Sam is. He's crying first, and he asks this question, did he say anything to you about anything? And Dean doesn't start to cry until he lies and says no. And that's when we see the tears slide down his face. When he says no, nothing. So yes, Sam is visibly distraught. And I mean their father is dead. This is a sad occasion.
And
Um
not to put too fine a point on it, not only is he dead, he's burning in front of them. I mean, come on.
yeah, I mean this is our first hunter's funeral and this is something we're going to see again in the series. There's a reason why they do this, which we don't get now. It was envisioned as being an homage to Star Wars, The Return of the Jedi, when Luke burns Anakin. So that was what they were going for. But this is going to be the template for a hunter's funeral from this point forward. So Dean is working on the car, and immediately we see the fight begin that is going to continue for the rest of the episode, where Sam can tell that Dean is not okay, and he's interpreting this as being Dean is grieving over John's death, and he's not processing it well. And he's sort of right. He's sort of right. Dean doesn't process strong emotions of any kind terribly well. We're also going to find out later in the episode there's more going on with Sam than he's saying too.
Yeah. Yeah, I will the line that hold on just so we don't get much farther here. The line that kind of I mean I get why he says it, but it still kind of pisses me off
What's
is
that?
the well here let me put my head on your shoulder and crying and and Sam's like don't freaking patronize me and I'm like
Eh,
come on Dean that's low like I was sitting here thinking it in my head of like all right that's low come on
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And it, I mean, we could, I'm going to go ahead and pause this. I'm
well,
hitting
I was I
pause.
already had it paused
It wasn't paused on my side.
oh okay that's
Oh,
weird
that's a problem. Okay, so Lynn, you were saying that it bothered you the way that Dean really kind of brushed off Sam and made a joke out of
yeah
his attempts to get his brother to talk about the fact that their dad is dead.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that Dean. I mean, we all know that Dean is not big on emotion. So, I mean, I get that he's not going to sit there with him and have this moment at this. Like, right now, he just wants to hit something versus have this heartfelt moment with Sam. But you don't have to patronize the guy either. You can just say, Sam, shut the fuck up. Like, and
You're
sort of
not
get
wrong.
and get the same point across.
You're not wrong. And this is something that we're going to see a lot of in Supernatural that Dean does not process strong emotions well, and his default setting is anger. And so he will do things. I mean, he's deliberately, I think, pushing his brother away. Like he's deliberately trying to antagonize Sam into leaving him be, I think is what we're seeing. Um, is it a dick move? Yeah, yeah, it is. And I think it's just, if you think about the role model he has is John. And
Yeah.
we saw what John is like, it was
Mm-hmm.
like. He's John is no longer with us. So, he has no coping skills, and so this is what he does. You know what? While we have it paused, let's go ahead and check our cards for burn a body or Sam or Dean cry. Let's see if we have either of those.
Da, da, da.
I don't have either, and I am not sad.
I don't think I have either one either. And I am sad. So fuck it. I'm having a drink anyways.
Yeah, you go. I will admire from a distance.
You're like, oh, thank God I don't have to drink this.
I don't have to drink it. Yeah, the strawberry liqueur I was able to find. Um, Let me just say this. It was sold in a package set with two beer pong balls. So it's not.
for me, it would have been the egg white wash part that would have put me over
Well,
the
I skipped
edge.
that. So there's no egg white in mine. But and you know I'm not a gin drinker. We talk about this every time
Yeah.
I pick a drink that has gin in it. But yeah, let's just say that the strawberry liqueur was not marketed for a sophisticated audience, and it's yeah. Anyway, so before we play here, so yeah, Dean is being a jerky McJerkface, and Sam has gotten into John's old phone. He managed to. He says, I think he cracked the code. Like, yeah, he probably just like played with passwords till he got it to open. And there's a voicemail from a person named Ellen. So we're hitting play here. He's giving the phone to Dean, and it's Ellen calling John. She's saying, "Don't be stubborn. You know I can help." The message itself is 4 months old, so it's from before John passed away. Um, we don't know exactly how long this is since the car wreck, but both boys still have all their wounds, so they're still
I'm
beat
sorry,
up.
talking about
The
Dean
car is not
driving a minivan that just, especially that one
this one.
with the old
Oh,
paneling, just cracks it. I love how he says, "Oh, that's humiliating." Feel
it's
like a
I
freaking
feel like a
soccer
freaking
mom.
soccer. The soccer mom crack is the best. So yeah, Dean is not a fan of the soccer mom wagon, and they end up at Harvell's Roadhouse. We're
Yeah.
getting a lock pick here, so we'll check our cards for that in just a moment. So they pick the lock of Harvell's Roadhouse. They walk in, and there's a bug zapper in the corner. Take a good look on the corner of the bar here. Is this really hideous yellow ceramic monkey? That monkey is going to make cameos for the rest of the series. And there's a dude passed out on top of the pool table.
And Ellen, what when we meet Ellen, she becomes somewhat of a regular for.
Well, yeah, we're give it a second here. So the boys have split up, and all of a sudden, Dean feels a pistol in or a gun in his back, and he says, "Oh God, please let that be a rifle." And she's like, "No, I'm just happy to see you." This is Alona Tall. We've got a great move here where because she's got the gun right up against his back, he's able to whirl around, take the gun away from her, and she punches him square in the nose. And he's like, I can't see. Sam, I need help. Uh, we get
I'm a
the
little
boys
tied
talk at the
up.
same time. So here comes Ellen. Now I'm going to assume you know who this actor is. Did you
And we have a
recognize
son of a
Sam
bitch.
Ferris? We have a son of a bitch, but don't change the subject. Did you recognize?
I feel like I should.
You should. You should. What's the show I always tease you about?
Oh, there are a few of them. Let's hear
Okay, but what's
Heartland.
uh-huh.
What character did she play on Heartland?
Hang on. Not that one, the other one I tease you about. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it. We'll check our cards here.
Not not one calls the heart.
When calls the heart. She's on that Tears of Your Bleeding Heart show you love.
I love that show.
You do love that show. Did you recognize her? Because she wasn't just like a one-off. She had I couldn't tell you who she plays. I didn't watch the show, but she was in a decent number of episodes from what I could tell.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go look it up
I say, looking
now.
at your face, I'm going to assume no. Um,
That's
all
gonna
right. Well,
piss me off now.
if only there was some way to investigate.
Oh, believe me, I will be.
So we're going to check our cards. We're looking for someone picks a lock, the boys talk at the same time, and a son of a bitch.
I have a son of a bitch.
Uh,
Please get arrested. Boys talk at the same time.
I have a son of a bitch.
One minute, boys get
Oh, I'm
show.
so happy. I just have that one. Not gonna pour myself a lot.
You said I'm gonna pour myself a lot.
I said I'm not gonna pour myself a lot.
Oh.
Like, oh. Okay.
Moving
So,
on.
I'm sorry.
Moving on.
Um, yeah, before I hit play, so the studio wanted the boys to have a way station where they could meet familiar faces, pick up cases, and director and co-executive producer Robert Singer had this idea to make it like the cantina in Star Wars, where they could, meet also some dangerous people. So it's something that never quite comes to fruition, but they had plans for what Harval's was going to be. I gotta say, so Alona Tall, producer Todd Aronauer had worked with her on a show called Veronica Mars, and he really wanted her for the role of Kat in Asylum, but she's an Israeli citizen and she was cleared to work in the United States, but of course the show films in Vancouver. So they weren't able to sort out her paperwork in time for her to be able to work in Canada. But it ended up working in her favor, because Joe Harvell ends up being obviously a much more substantive role than
Mm-hmm.
Kat um, from Asylum. She she had been, so the show just wrapped, but she was on SEAL team with one of your favorite characters from the show, AJ Buckley, who plays one of the Ghost Facers. So, so the two of them ended up being on SEAL team together. And I gotta say, honestly, I like her. So and wow, yeah, Sam Ferris is. Both of these women are really amazing. I'm hitting
Yeah.
play. So the two of them have quite neatly taken out the Winchesters. My goodness, the jeans were so low in the aughts. I keep forgetting
Mm-hmm.
how low they were. So they're kind of trying to avoid telling Sam and Joe that their father is dead. So they're trying to get information out of the two women without showing their hands.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you can see it in
Uh-huh.
Ellen's face. She realizes, um, John didn't send you. And that's when, like, she can see in their faces, particularly Sam. I think Jared does some really good work in this episode. And finally, he's the one admitting Dean's still trying to keep everything close to the vest, but Sam is admitting it, yeah, we think a demon got him. So, and of course, Dean is fine. Dean is totally fine. Nothing's wrong with Dean at all. So, they say, okay, well, we can't help you, but Ash can. And they call Ash. So this is Chad Lindbergh, and
He's
he
awesome.
has the most spectacular mullet. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He did one episode there, so I recognized him from that. He was also in The Fast and the Furious, which I'm going to bring up again a little later in this episode. But come to find out, he is their resident computer hacker genius. And they hand over all of John's research. I'm really mad. Dean does not. Joe has poured him a glass of water and he doesn't even touch it. The son of a bitch. I'm like, he's gotta be thirsty. But no, no, Dean does not drink here. So, They hand over all of John's research to Ash. Ash is like, this is impossible. No human being could do this. And they're like, yeah, our dad could. So he starts looking through it and he's like, ooh, signs, omens, like this is some serious shit. Like if you can follow all this, you can track them. Like I can use this to build something. And man, Chad Lindbergh is a genius. I love him in
Mhm.
this role. He's just, and I love how he's like, oh, this is going to take some time. How much time? 51 hours. He can do all of this in the head. The guy's a mad genius. Ge-
I
Dean
love this.
compliments him on the color.
All business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah.
I love that line.
Hair flip, he's fantastic. Dean is very busily checking out Joe's posterior. So we're gonna check our cards in just a minute for
Hmm.
Dean checks out or hits on a woman. But Dean is like, yeah, I'm gonna try to hit that. He hops off the bar. He figures he's got some time to kill. He starts chasing Joe. Sam is he wants to work.
Yes.
He's doing what he did when Jess died. He's diving right into the cases.
Yes.
So he spots this folder that Ellen has behind the bar about a case. Um, Cut back over to Dean flirting with Joe, and we find out her dad has passed away as well, that he was a hunter. So they've got some daddy issues in common. And you can see that he's starting to hit on her, and all of a sudden he's like, you know, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. I still think it counts as a square because he clearly checks her out.
Oh yeah. Oh, he
Um,
absolutely checks her out. That in it. Well, that to me, it's she's definitely trying it for a minute, and then figures realizes he's not gonna get there, especially when he realizes she's getting the attitude right back and goes, "Yeah, this ain't happening." Especially when she says, "Yeah, now everyone who walks in these doors thinks they can get in my pants." He goes, "No, not." He's like, "I'd
Bunch of
never try
scumbags.
that." It's like, that's exactly what you were going for. Don't even try it.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this more as the season wears on. I think that, we're going to pause this here and check our cards. I think that Joe and Dean have a really interesting relationship. So at
Mhm.
the moment, I just think what I really love about these two characters is, meaning Joe and Ellen, is like they don't take any of the boys' bullshit. Like
Nope.
they are strong, capable, independent women. And and yeah, if Dean wants to get into Joe's pants, he's going to have to earn it. Um, all right, so we are looking just for Dean checks out or hits on a woman. I have Dean eats or drinks, but the son of a bitch didn't touch his water.
And
So
I have Dean checks out or hits on a woman.
excellent. You grab that.
I
Okay, so
already
none
did.
for me. I got a big fat goose egg this time. Uh, cheers, my friend. Okay. So the case that the boys are now taking off after is what we saw in the cold open. So at this point, they don't know what it is. They just know that people are people are dying. They're getting, or, ripped to shreds inside their own homes. But they do have the little girl from the first victim says it was a clown and it disappeared into thin air. And this is where we find out that Mr. Sam Winchester has a tiny fear of clowns. I
But
love his
he is not backing down, and he
he's
definitely, as we will remember from um and I cannot remember the name of the episode. You remember
what can you
these
give
so
me?
the one with the airplane,
Oh, Phantom Traveler.
Phantom Traveler, whereas Dean really, really visibly struggled to get on that airplane.
Mhm.
Sam really isn't struggling with jumping into this case. He's just like, yeah, it's a clown. Let's like just shut up. Let's just do this.
It, you know,
Whereas you could see Dean and Phantom Traveler like, there's a reason I drive. I hate airplanes. And like you could see him visibly shaking on the damn plane. And Sam's not doing that here. He's just like, whatever, it's a job.
he
Just do
isn't
it.
yet. He isn't yet. Um, and I do think that this is really an indication of just how much he wants a case, any case, to distract himself. Because we're going to see in a little bit that Sam's fear of clowns is no joke. Like he's ever, and I mean they just had an argument in the mom mobile that you Dean is teasing him about being afraid of clowns, and he's like, "You're afraid to fly," and Dean says, "Planes crash," and Sam says, "Clowns kill." So, like I think that they're equally afraid of the things that they're afraid of. It's just they're I think what we're seeing is their coping skills or lack thereof to deal with John's death. That Sam just wants a case. And Dean just wants to be pissed off and hit this.
So
Um,
now we are in the bedroom and
yep.
we're
So
about
we've
to
got victim
discover
number
that
two.
another little kid was a moron.
Another little kid letting the clown into the house, and this time he leads the clown right into mommy and daddy's bedroom, the little shit. Um, I do think it's kind of funny that like the dad was trying to tell the little boy not to be afraid of clowns earlier, and then the little boy's like, "You're right. He wants to be my friend."
Yeah, and then he's and then when the clown is standing right next to his bed, he's like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, and like, nope, nope, nope. So Sam and Dean have arrived at the carnival where they've come to look for clues. And so here we get our our for this is the first time Sam actually confronts a clown and he's staring this woman down. He's like, I don't like the looks of this. And then Dean walks up and Sam is visibly relieved when she walks away. And Dean starts busting his chops like, "Did you get her number?" So this is they have found out that there's another set of victims, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to investigate this. Once again, they've got a witness that says the clown disappeared into thin air. They're at a carnival. The place is like lousy with clowns.
Mm-hmm.
So they decide they're just going to have to scan everything,
Everything.
which means they're going to have to blend in. So they're trying to get jobs. They're trying to run away and join the circus. We've got this fun little scene here where they walk into the knife throwers tent. And Dean says, "Have you seen Mr. Cooper?" And turns out that the knife thrower is blind. And he starts busting Dean's chops for picking on him for being blind. Sam is loving watching his brother squirm in the hot seat. Here comes the knife thrower's friend, who happens to be a little person, and he's like, "Oh no, it's just a little misunderstanding," which this guy is not happy. He's
Sam
like,
is
loving it, loving
second
every
of
second.
this.
Here's where Dean gets his revenge, though, is there's two places to sit down in Mr. Cooper's office. One of them is just a regular old chair, and the other is a clown chair. Two brothers race, and Dean lands in the real chair first, forcing Sam to like perch on the edge of this clown chair in misery. Um, Th- This is another one of those great conversations that we see in Supernatural, where they're having a conversation that is not really about the thing that they're talking about. Like in the last episode, we had the conversation about the car that was not about the car. This
Yeah.
is a conversation about the two of them joining the circus that is has nothing to do with the circus. That Mr. Cooper here is trying to convince them, look, people work for a traveling carnival because they don't fit anywhere else. That they people who have other options don't run away and join the circus. You two, you look like nice boys. You should go to school. You should get yourself some nice girls. Don't, this is, you have options. Um, and Sam is the one who, unlike last season, when he was
Yeah.
saying, no, I want to get this thing that killed Jess, and then I'm going back to school, I'm going back to my normal life. Now he's saying, we don't want normal. We don't want to go to school. We don't want regular. We want this. So we get this kind of reversal
And
from
look at the
where he
side
was.
eye from Dean. Like,
Yeah,
who
we've got a
are you
hairy
and what have
eyeball
you
from
done with
Dean.
my it's like, who are you and what have you done with my brother?
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And the other thing I think is interesting about this conversation is there's going to be an episode later this season where Dean has an almost identical conversation with somebody else when, he's talking to somebody who wants to be a hunter and he's trying to talk them out of it. So we've got a little bit of foreshadowing here. It's a really well written conversation. I think um uh, I think John Scheiben, who wrote this one, just did a really fantastic job with it. Um, all right, so they are now starting to investigate the carnivals. The carnival's in full swing. The the boys, the Mr. Cooper realizes they don't actually have any carnival skills, so he's got them doing kind of routine maintenance. So Sam has his EMF detector in his
Hmm.
pocket. So we're gonna pause in a second and check our cards for an EMF detector. We've got the fun house, and oh goodness, there's clowns all over the place. Uh, Sam
But
gets
yeah,
into
I
the
gotta say, Sam is keeping his cool, even
You're not wrong.
surrounded by, even surrounded. He's like,
Yeah,
okay, got a job to do.
you're not wrong. And in all seriousness, like if this place was crawling with spiders, I would be not even a fraction of this calm.
I wouldn't be there. I
Well,
don't care
very
how
true.
badly I need that job. There, that many eight-legged creatures, I'm out. Forget it.
Yeah, yeah. I have my things I'm scared of, and I wouldn't be within 10 feet of them. Like, oh my goodness, I did I tell you this? I was in the shower the other day and I spotted like a big gnarly spider up in the corner, and I was like, oh, hell nah. And there was like nothing I could do. And so I'm just like, I'm watching you. And it must have, from the humidity, it must have like lost its grip and it fell. And so
I would have
climbing
screamed.
up. Oh, I was out of my mind. So I was climbing up on the edge of the tub to try to rinse down the drain. Any animal lovers who are like brokenhearted that the poor spider drowned in my tub, I didn't want it to drown either. My plan, in all seriousness, was to like get done with my shower and take it outside and let it go. And it I couldn't save it. I just couldn't save it. Uh, and I
You're better than me. I would have been.
I would have
Sorry,
mushed it.
subscribers, but I would have been trying to drown the son of a bitch. Cause yeah, if you got eight legs, you're going bye bye.
I was I'll admit I was not sad. And then I watched the drain like a hawk to make sure it didn't come back out of the drain. But I just kept thinking, and we've paused this by the way. I just kept thinking you cannot fall and crack your head open and die because there's no way you're going to the pearly gates wet, soapy, and naked. explaining to St. Peter how you ended up in this predicament. So all that to say, Sam, you are a badass man. Like I would not be anywhere near this calm.
Oh, the video in
Okay,
my
while
head
we
right
pause
now
it,
is hilarious. I mean, don't get
we
me
have it
wrong.
paused.
You you die by that, and I will track you down and kill you myself.
Resurrect
Be
you and
like,
kill you all over again. Okay, so we're looking for an EMF and that we're about to have a get this as well. And I once again do not have either.
I
This is
am
a
an
very
EMF.
rare set of circumstances where I don't like the cocktail and I also don't have a lot of squares.
So I am an
Dang.
EMF,
Oh,
and
good for you.
I know you will not be joining me, but cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. I'm about to go get myself something I do like. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This is oop. I'm gonna tough it out. Okay.
I say, but it's so disappointing to go through an episode with something you can't drink.
Yeah, that hey, if I made it through the asylum and I had so many squares with asylum, if I
Yeah,
can
I
make it through
know that.
that,
I remember.
I can, yeah, I think that's like burned into our brains. I can make it through anything. Okay, so here we've got Dean is also scanning. Um, they're still not entirely certain what they're after. They're still assuming that it's a
I love that.
first object of
Skeleton,
some kind.
actually.
I'm sorry?
I love that. You look like you just saw a clown. Actually, it was a skeleton.
It's
I
a
mean,
yeah, yeah, the skeleton fell out of the ceiling. So now Sam is wondering if maybe it's like an actual human skeleton. So what here comes blind knife thrower guy and Dean Dean is not being terribly stealthy here. He's like, "Oh, you seem like a nice old blind knife thrower. Let me just tell you everything." He's he's spilling his guts to the knife thrower and but what he tells this gentleman is that he and Sam are writing a book about ghosts, and so they're doing some investigating there. Man, we got a good look at this freaky ass clown mouth walking into the fun house. And they happen to coincidentally, because it was in the script, spot this little girl who says she can see a clown nobody else can see. They follow this family home, and here they are in their mom mobile, their soccer parents staked out in front of this family, and they're just gonna wait. Like
yeah.
they believe that this family is the next target, and so they're just gonna stake out the house, wait for this thing to show up. And they're starting to think that their culprit might be the guy who owns the circus, Mr. Cooper. That when they were in his tent, he had showed them a photo of what he said was his father, but it was almost identical. So they're like, what if it's the same guy? Dean has fallen asleep. Sam is still watching. He wakes up Sam and sorry, Sam wakes up Dean just as the little girl is heading to the door. So now this is our third little kid with no sense of self-preservation, letting freaky ass clown into the house. So she invites in creepy clown.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
and
we have an electronics flicker.
is it an electronics flicker or does he just shut the light off?
I assumed it was an electronics flicker, but it's not affecting the rest of the house.
Right. Let's revisit that. So Sam grabs the little girl. Dean comes around the other side with a shotgun, and he hits this thing square in the chest with a shotgun blast. Um, it gets knocked over for a second, but then it hops back up, tears out of the house, breaks the door, and disappears into thin air. So all this family knows is that two men just broke into their house. Sam's got the little girl in his arms, and so the boys run for it because all the
Yeah.
family knows is that two dudes were in their house with their little girl.
Yeah.
So they ditch the soccer mom van. Dean is brokenhearted. You can see them kind of
Like,
carefully not touching anything. So they're trying not to leave any prints. They grab the plate and now they are on foot. Um, Nothing in Dad's journal, but Sam calls Ellen to see if anybody there knows anything about this thing that's a clown that disappears into
vanishes.
thin air. Um, I love this line here too, where they're trying to decide if maybe Ellen and Dad had a thing back in the day, and it seems like they had something more of a falling out, which reminds me, we had this conversation in Devil's Trap that just
Yes.
seemed to have a lot of falling outs with a lot of
Yep.
people.
Yep.
Uh,
It does seem to be a theme.
yeah, we've got this line. You ever notice Dad had a falling out with just about everybody? So, um, Sam once again is trying to get Dean to talk about it. We have a dude.
Yeah.
Um, and Dean is like, if the next person, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. The next person that asks me if I'm fine, I'm gonna start throwing punches. Like, oh yeah,
Oh
you're
yeah, you're
100%
so
fine.
fine. You are
Totally
so
fine.
fine.
And I love this line here. I think this is a fantastic line where Dean says, "These are your issues. Quit dumping them on me." I'm just gonna leave that there. File that away. We're gonna come back to that later.
And I love
Um,
how Sam doesn't argue. He just goes, "I'm gonna call Ellen." Like,
Ellen, all right.
yep.
Clearly, you cannot be reasoned with. Which, if I had to guess, it's something, I mean, Sam went toe to toe with John all the time, but I suspect he's recognizing this behavior in Dean, and he knows from all the years dealing with John that there's no use trying to reason with folks when they're like this. Like I suspect this is the way John was, and so Dean is emulating the behavior he saw from John, and Sam is just like, okay, okay, we're just not even going to try right now. So we've spoken to Ellen. Ellen says it's something called a rakshasa. Um, Apparently, Eric Kripke got the idea for a rakshasa from one of the predecessor shows that gave him the idea for Supernatural. It was an old show called Night Stalker. And he just thought it was
Oh,
kind of a
and we have
cool
a
name.
Sammy.
Yes, yes, we do. I wasn't in the middle of a sentence at all. We
Sorry.
do have Sammy. Um, I'm going to suggest that we hold for just a
Yeah.
moment before we check our cards. Um, so we've got another lockpick. And so at this point, they've decided they're pretty sure that Mr. Cooper is their Rakshasa. The only way to kill a Rakshasa is with a brass dagger. So Dean is now with the knife thrower to see if that guy has a brass dagger. They get to so they're separated. Sam is
Yeah.
looking for evidence that Mr. Cooper is the Rakshasa. Dean opens
And
a trunk, and lo and behold, here's this creepy ass clown costume.
and he suddenly
And
goes,
he goes,
"Oh
"Oh
fuck."
shit." Uh Blind knife thrower ain't blind. We get this great special
Oh,
effect where like his face falls into that. Okay, so we're on a black screen here. I'm gonna pause it. So we're checking our cards. We're looking for a Sammy.
which I have.
I Once again, do not. Yeah, I got bug kiss. Oh, you know what? I have Dean checks out or hits on a woman. I didn't get that one earlier. I missed that. So I will join you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. All right. Hitting play. For some reason, knife thrower Rakshasa leaves Dean alive, throws a couple of knives in Dean's general direction. Dean does like a back roll out of there. Mr. Cooper now thinks that Sam's a peeping Tom. This great shot that like pivots around and then back the other way. Phil Segrisha did a great job directing this episode. I think it's super stylish. The boys both head into the fun house. Um, because they weren't able to get a brass dagger from the knife thrower, but Sam remembers there's a steam pipe organ in the funhouse that has brass pipes. So he's got the idea they can use that to kill the Rakshasa. Boys get separated in the funhouse. And Sam goes to grab one of these pipes that actively has hot steam and
And can't
shockingly blows
understand and doesn't understand why it's hot. Hmm.
I know. So he burns himself, poor guy. Um, again, the
Dipshit.
Rakshasa. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
As I said, dipshit.
Tips. Yeah, like there's bravery and then there's stupidity. So
I was gonna
once
say
again,
that's stupidity.
Rakshasa does not kill Dean. It pins him to the wall with some knives. But now Sam can't see. Not he's starting to throw knives at Sam. Dean realizes he can pull the valve on the steam vents for the pipe organ, and we're just, MacGuffin through the magic of television. It fills the fills the space with steam so that Sam is able to see where it is. I think this is a great effect where you see him stab it. It's invisible, so the pipe is just kind of like hanging in midair, and as it collapses, you can see blood like pouring out of the end of the pipe, which I think is a pretty cool effect. Um, and it just kind of disintegrates.
Right. Yeah.
So
I love this. I hate
Rakshasa.
fun houses.
Uh, so Winchester's 1, Rakshasa 0. We are back at the roadhouse. We've got a couple of rando hunters cleaning their weapons, and finally, Dean is gonna drink his fucking beer.
Well, that's because, let's be honest, she hands him a glass of water. He's not going to touch the water. You hand him a beer, that's a whole different ball game.
Yep, now it's something worth drinking. I love this moment. This is so fun. So we're gonna check our cards for Dean Eats or Drinks in just a second.
Yeah.
Sam realizes all of a sudden he's a third wheel with Joe and Dean. So he's like, I need to go be over there
Like
now,
anywhere else.
anywhere else. And they have this conversation where, I think we can see that like Joe's genuinely interested in him, and who can blame him? And he's kind of saying like, you know what? Wrong place, wrong time. She's like, you're afraid of my mom, aren't you? He's like, yeah, a little bit. And I gotta say, like, yeah, I'd be afraid of Ellen too. She's a formidable person. Here comes Ash. Ash finally has the results. He's built himself this little gizmo here. He's rigged up his laptop to look for demon sign based on the data that John had collected. And this is a fantastic moment here where Dean reaches for the laptop and his fingers like hover over the keys and Ash is looking at him like I will break your fingers if you touch my laptop. Um, he makes this MIT reference here, Ash, and it's so cute because Sam is like, MIT? And he's like, yeah, it's a school in Boston. Like he thinks Sam doesn't know what MIT is. Um, we're going to pause this in just a second here to check our cards. I am curious if we can call this a meta moment, and I'll explain why in a moment. But the second Dean gets up and leaves part of his beer unfinished on the bar, Ash picks it up and he drinks it.
Mhm.
So
I
the
was
boys
actually like, wait
are,
a minute, there's something left in that beer? Man.
yep. Okay. I know that there's just a couple minutes left in the episode, but I'm going to pause it. And I just entirely coincidentally happened to have paused it on Sam's Tushy. Total coincidence. So we're looking for Dean Eats or Drinks. I have that one. Okay,
I
let me ask you if you agree with me that we can call this a meta moment. So
okay.
um I mentioned earlier in the episode that Chad Lindbergh was in a movie called The Fast and the Furious.
Yes.
In that movie, one of the characters says to him, you should go to MIT." And his answer is, "No, I have this that attention deficit disorder thing. Like I can't do that." So some fans have pointed out that it's kind of cute that like he was in like one of his more memorable roles was in this movie where there's an MIT reference and then there's another MIT reference here. So I'll admit it is a bit of a stretch, but I'm not the only one who's noticed it. So I wanted to get your opinion on it.
I mean, we have done bigger stretches before.
You're not wrong. And you want to watch me drink the terrible cocktails.
No, as I said, I am not. I'm not big on cheating, but since it is a legitimate thing, and some of the meta moments, I'm like, I don't know how. I'm like, it takes some serious research to know some of these, because I would
Uh,
not have
it's
known that.
almost like I wrote a book.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know, yeah, I'm trying so hard to come up with a better one-liner than
I
that,
know.
and I'm failing miserably because that was really lame. Um, wow. Um, I'm very disappointed in myself.
Oh
So
no,
yeah,
oh no, it's fine. You know I love you.
I love you too. And since that was so lame, I have to have a drink with you on that one
Oh,
because that
true.
was just that was
Oh,
that was so pathetic.
mm.
Except at
Okay.
least my cocktail's good.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yours ain't.
distillery does have some nice cocktails. Okay. Did we get? I just sorry. Did we get Dean and Eats or Drinks? We did. We got that one too.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Last couple minutes here. Home stretch. Bye, Sam's Tushy.
Oh,
Bye.
come on, that seems
So
fast.
Dean
Let's
is
stop
back working
being.
on the car. Sam, once again, is trying to have a conversation with his brother. I don't feel like we can call it a heartfelt moment because they're
No.
just. I was prepared to call it a heartfelt bromance when Dean was unconscious. This one, like he's actively resisting having any kind of serious conversation. But Sam says, you know what? You're right. I'm not dealing with dad's death, but at least I'm prepared to admit that I am not okay. Um, and I think this is something that um, Sam is a little better equipped to articulate that
Hmm.
like he feels guilty because the very last conversation he had with John was a fight
Yeah.
and he's got to live with that.
Hmm.
Um but he's like and you could see like he's getting a little misty again. He's like I'm not okay. And you know what? Neither are you. Um, like you might not be talking about it. And I love how Dean just kind of stands there. Like he just he just can't even engage on this. I love this moment so much. So
Yeah.
Sam turns and walks away, leaves Dean standing there. Dean picks up a crowbar and he stews and he breaks the window of the car next to him. And then he turns, he gives the Impala a long, hard look, and then he just starts to beat the piss out of the Impala. And like he does some serious damage to the trunk. Like he goes
Yeah.
through the metal with this crowbar.
Oh yeah,
Um
he beats the shit out of it.
he be like he hits this thing until like he's too tired to hit it anymore. And then he stares back after Sam.
Yeah.
So
To me,
it's gonna
that's the look of
be,
I can't tell of whether that's torment or just sheer anger at
oh
John.
boy. Yeah, you are absolutely right. So that is our episode. And yeah, I wanna talk for just a minute about what we just saw because I will say that this is something that bothered me quite a bit because like we know how much he loves that car.
Yeah,
Like he just spent like I mean we saw the car in the last episode. There was hardly anything left of it. And
yeah,
it's car shaped now.
yeah.
Like does it run? No, but he's clearly been putting a
Working
lot of effort into restoring this car and it's getting close to being done. And especially like he's not just looking for something to hit, right? Because if he just needed something to hit to take his aggression out on, he'd be doing it on the car next to it that he
yeah.
started on. That there's something about the Impala, and
Probably
it
because
it
it's
took
John's
me a
car.
while. I'm sorry,
Probably because it's John's car.
John's car. You got there way faster than I did. Like it was a couple of watchings before I went, oh. Oh, he's not mad at the car. He's mad at John. And he can't take it out on John because John's fucking dead. So the only thing he has, like he's got nowhere to go with all of this rage except the car. Um, so yeah, well done. Like I said, it you got there way faster than I did, and I think it's a beautiful moment. And yeah, you're absolutely right. He goes from the car to staring after Sam. So there's it, you called it early in the episode. Like Dean is being a dick, and there's a reason Dean is being a dick. That we're gonna have to be patient. Like it's gonna take the show a little while to get at what it is that's driving Dean. So I think what you're saying is absolutely right, that it's difficult to tell. I think Jensen does an amazing job because it's
Yes,
difficult to tell looking at Dean's face exactly what's going on because there's a lot
yeah,
stewing in Dean that he's not in the tiniest bit equipped to articulate.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
all right. Well, that
So,
means
how did we do on our cards?
it
I,
is time for a check. Go ahead.
as I, I, I have technically two rows with three. I wouldn't call them three in a row because they're not in a row. In fact, it's every other one in one.
Oh,
But I do have two rows with
you
three.
got three in a row. Yeah, you do. You're correct. You have two rows with three.
Well, yes, three. Well, yes, it's three in a row, but usually I actually will have like one, two, three. Like I'll
Yeah, no,
actually
they're
have
they're
them.
not sequential or consecutive.
Yes, they are not. They are not sequential, but yeah. So I have two that are three in a row. So I have a total of one, two, three, four, five. I have six.
Okay, and I have one, three, four, five. I have five. So you have lost by the least. Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean,
Okay. You know what? I can't let you drink alone, and I've had so little. Cheers.
shoot. So
Oh, okay.
I gotta say, this is not one of my favorite episodes, not by a long
Okay,
shot.
interesting.
It has
So are you
some
starting with
good,
what you hated?
yes. So I've got
Okay.
two things.
Okay, tell me what you hated.
Number one, Sam's hair. Sam's hair in this episode sucks. I hate his hair. And number two, and this is says something about the quality that I know Supernatural can do. I thought the special effects were lame.
Okay.
I did not think they were the usual quality of special effects that we generally see in an episode. I was
Yeah.
quite disappointed.
You know what? And it's interesting that you bring that up. So the first season they outsourced all of their special effects to third parties. And that meant that there was something of an inconsistent quality to them. Um, so I believe it was season two. It might not have been until season three, but if memory serves, it was season two. Phil Segrisha convinced the studio to bring it in-house, and he did all the math on what it would cost to set up an in-house special effects studio. And he said it'll pay for itself in the first year. So this is if again, if memory serves, this is the first season where they had their own in-house special effects. I'm trying not to call it a lab, but department. And so they're just starting to get their feet under themselves. And so you're going to see, in my opinion, they mount that learning curve pretty quickly. So you are going to see some improvement quickly, but yeah, I see where you're coming from. It's even keeping in mind that it's only 2006. We've certainly seen better special effects, and I think that's why that they were sort of new at it.
Yeah. So, and
Eh,
something that I loved, and it's so wrong, but it made me giggle so
Tell
much,
me.
is I loved the comedic timing of that scene with Dean where he kept putting his foot in his mouth with the blind man and the midget.
With the
Now, I mean, just the facial expressions and the comedic timing, and just how he could not say the right thing to save
and
his
Sam was
life,
loving every second of it.
and it was love it. That was my favorite scene of the entire thing. Just, oh my god, I thought that was so freaking funny. And I mean,
Yes,
it takes talent to do comedy well,
you are correct.
and that's not as easy to
No.
do as people think. So I thought that Jensen Ackles did a really good job just with getting that comedic timing and the facial expressions and all of that. I thought he nailed that because it really was funny as hell.
Yeah, yeah, you're correct. His comedic timing is really fantastic. Um, so for me, I'm not going to say a lot about it here because we already talked about it, but I have to say that crowbar freak out at the end.
Yeah.
I think that's done really well, and again, like um Jared does a really good job, um, kind of acting past the in between hair that he's got. But I think he does a really good job kind of portraying where Sam is at, and you see him like to trying to draw his brother into their shared grief. Like, hey, we don't have to go through this alone. And there's just something going on with Dean that he does not know how to process.
Yeah.
And I think both actors do a really fantastic job with it. The thing that I hated, and I will say, especially compared to how good In My Time of Dying was, like the prior episode was stellar. It was so good. And
Mm-hmm.
this one, it's in a big shadow and doesn't quite manage to step
No.
out into the light. I agree. It's not a bad episode, but especially compared to the one before it, it's and honestly, the one after it is really great too. Like the one we're going to talk about next week is really good.
Yeah.
So like it's in between these two better episodes and it's really kind of struggling to keep up. That being said, I didn't really hate anything about it. The thing that I thought was really kind of convenient was it makes no sense to me at all why the Rakshasa doesn't kill Dean in his tent. Like, I'm not saying that I want Dean to die, but
Yeah.
it makes no sense to me that he spends all that time like throwing knives. He chases Dean out. Like, this is not something that we've seen be part of its MO. Like we haven't seen it play with its food
Yeah.
up to this point. Like it wants the kids to invite it in because it needs an invitation, but it's not like chasing them down. You know what I mean? Like it sort of doesn't make any sense for the monster to behave that way. It doesn't make sense for like why does it not just kill him outright? Why is it wasting energy chasing them through a fun house? And I just feel like they could have done a little better explaining how they got from point A to point B on that.
Well, also the other thing that kind of bugged me
Okay.
was, and I mean, I realize that they've got only 40 something minutes to work with. I'm
Hmm.
aware of that. But Sam gets the thing in his hand and immediately makes, like, goes after it and kills it. Like, that whole thing lasts, what, maybe 30 seconds?
Yeah, there's no fight.
There's no fight. There's no shit. I missed it. Like, come back around. It's like, turn it on. There it is. Boom. It's like, it shouldn't have been that. I hate to say simple, but it shouldn't have been that simple.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you that um I mean it's not necessarily a bad effect the way that the because it can make itself invisible that we can see it, but I mean like that could have been a properly scary scene with them like stalking it through the the fun house, and I mean like things fall it like they could have. I agree with you, they could have done better, and I think if they had like cut out the whole like weirdness with the boys being separated. I don't know, like they could have I think if they had cut out some of that weirdness I was complaining about with like why does the Rakshasa leave Dean alive, they could have had a little more time for like a properly scary
Yeah.
um monster hunt in a fun house.
Yeah.
So I tend to agree with you that it sort of doesn't make any sense the way they do it. Um, so okay, with that, no bingos for us this week, sadly. The
No.
cards were a little stingy. But that is last call.
And
Oh,
I am
thank you
actually
so
going to
much.
do a last call since I don't.
Oh, good for you. Good.
I was going to say, you don't have to.
Like, yeah, okay, one more, one
I
more.
was like, wait a minute, I think she's going to.
Mm. All
I know
right.
where the rest of that is going.
Yes, the incinerator will get its cocktail this evening. Okay, so that is last call. Thanks so much for coming along with us for the ride. If you like what we're doing here, be sure to tell your friends. Please also like our videos and subscribe so it's easier for other people to find us too. We love hearing from our SPN family. Comment, send us an email at hunterfuelpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hunter Fuel Podcast. In our next episode, we'll be watching season 2, episode 3, Bloodlust, when we meet vegetarian vampires who don't even sparkle. Until then, be safe, everybody. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.